Imagine your life as a grand film unfolding on the screen of existence. Each moment a scene, each challenge a plot twist, and every decision a turning point in your story. But here's the question: who's directing it? Are you merely an actor, reacting to whatever the script throws your way? Or are you the filmmaker, shaping the narrative with intention? This is where Stoicism steps in, not as a rigid set of rules, but as a timeless director's guide, helping you craft a life of meaning, resilience, and unshakable presence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That simple yet profound idea is the heartbeat of Stoic philosophy, the art of focusing on what you can control, letting go of what you can't, and finding freedom in that clarity. Think about the last time life felt overwhelming, maybe a setback at work, a personal loss, or just the daily grind wearing you down. It's easy to feel like you're at the mercy of circumstances, as if life is happening to you rather than for you. But what if you could shift that perspective? Stoicism, born in the bustling markets of ancient Athens and refined in the marble halls of Rome, offers a radical alternative, a way to reclaim your inner agency, no matter how chaotic the world around you becomes. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about cultivating a mindset that turns obstacles into opportunities, fear into fuel, and uncertainty into a canvas for growth. Today, we're embarking on a cinematic journey through Stoic thought, bridging the wisdom of philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius with the challenges of modern life. We'll explore how their teachings on control, resilience, and living in the present moment can transform the way you navigate relationships, careers, and even your own inner dialogue. This isn't just philosophy, it's a toolkit for thriving in a world that often feels unpredictable. So take a seat in the director's chair of your own life. The script isn't fixed, the scenes aren't set in stone, and the ending is yours to write. Let's begin. Picture holding a camera in your hands. The world floods in through the lens, a blur of shapes and colors until you adjust the focus. That's the essence of Stoicism, not changing what you see, but sharpening how you see it. The Stoics taught that life, like a photograph, is shaped by where you direct your attention. What's in focus? Your judgments, your choices, your responses, the things you can control. What stays blurred? The noise of external events, other people's opinions, the unpredictability of the world. This mental discipline isn't about denial, it's about clarity. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, put it plainly: some things are up to us and some are not. That simple filter separates suffering from serenity. Now, fast forward to today. Our modern world bombards us with distractions, endless social media scrolls, breaking news alerts, the pressure to curate a perfect life online. It's easy to fixate on the blur, the likes we didn't get, the opportunities that slipped away, the chaos we can't tame. But the Stoic lens invites us to reframe. Imagine scrolling through your feed and pausing not to react, but to ask, is this within my control? Ancient texts like Marcus Aurelius's, Meditations, or Seneca's letters echo across centuries because they address a universal struggle: how to stay centered when the world spins madly. While the Romans debated in marble courtyards, we battle notifications on screens, yet the core challenge remains the same. Here's the practice: start your day like a photographer choosing a shot. Before reaching for your phone, take a moment to focus inward. What intentions can you set? What attitudes will you cultivate? The Stoics called this the morning meditation, a ritual of aligning your mind before the world pulls it in a dozen directions. And when distractions arise, treat them like lens flares, acknowledge them, but don't let them distort the image you're composing. This philosophy doesn't demand perfection, it offers perspective. Whether you're facing a traffic jam or a career setback, the question is always the same. Where will you place your focus? The frame is yours to adjust. Imagine a priceless vase slipping from your fingers and shattering on the floor, the sound of breaking ceramic, the irreversible scatter of fragments. In that moment, you face a choice: rage against the accident or accept what cannot be changed. This was Epictetus's powerful metaphor for life's inevitable fractures. The vase, he argued, was never truly in your control, only your response to its breaking was. 2,000 years later, his insight cuts through modern life with startling clarity. That traffic jam turning your commute into a crawl, the last-minute cancellation of plans you'd eagerly anticipated. The unexpected criticism that stings like salt in a wound. These are all variations of the same broken vase. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control, the art of separating what's within your power from what isn't. Epictetus, who knew hardship firsthand as a former slave, put it bluntly: make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. His words aren't a call to passivity, they're a strategy for conserving energy. Think of it as mental triage. Every moment you're presented with countless stimuli, some you can influence, most you can't. The frustration we feel often comes from exhausting ourselves trying to rearrange what was never ours to arrange. Consider how this plays out today. You refresh your inbox obsessively, waiting for a reply that never comes. You replay an awkward conversation, wishing you could rewrite the script. You fixate on the weather, ruining your weekend plans. In each case, you've handed the reins of your peace to something outside yourself. But here's the Stoic alternative. Recognize the boundary, the email response. That's the sender's domain, the past conversation, already etched in time. The rain clouds firmly in nature's jurisdiction. What remains yours? Your interpretation, your next move, your attitude. Try this exercise. Identify one uncontrollable you've been wrestling with lately. Maybe it's a relative's stubborn opinion, a delayed flight, or the outcome of a job application. Now, imagine holding it in your hands like that broken vase. Feel its weight, then gently set it down outside the circle of what you can change. This simple act isn't surrender, it's the reclaiming of agency. By releasing what you can't control, you free up space to engage fully with what you can. Your actions, your values, the meaning you assign to events. The vase may lie in pieces, but your hands are now open to build something new. Every great filmmaker knows the magic happens not just in shooting the footage, but in the editing room, where raw, unpolished scenes are shaped into something purposeful. That's the essence of Amor Fati, the Stoic practice of loving one's fate. It's not about passively accepting life's unscripted moments. It's about actively embracing them as essential to the story. Friedrich Nietzsche, centuries after the Stoics, captured this perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." Imagine your life as a film reel, filled with takes you'd never planned: the job rejection, the failed relationship, the illness, the unexpected detour. The Stoic approach: don't delete these scenes, study them, reframe them, find the meaning hidden in the cuts. Take Seneca, the philosopher who faced exile to Corsica, a brutal plot twist that could have broken him. Instead, he treated it as creative material. In his letters, he described how exile sharpened his writing, deepened his thinking, and stripped away distractions. What seemed like an ending became the backdrop for his most profound work. Now transpose that to today, that promotion you didn't get, the business that folded. The relationship that ended, these aren't failures, they're raw footage waiting for your editorial touch. The modern world obsesses over cutting out the bad, but Stoicism teaches us to integrate it. A filmmaker doesn't despair over cloudy weather on shoot day. They adjust the lighting, rewrite the scene, and discover a mood they'd never have planned. So here's your directorial challenge. Look back at a recent plot twist in your life, something that felt like a setback or a deviation from the script. Maybe it was a move you didn't want to make, a dream that dissolved, or a mistake that haunted you. Now, grab the mental scissors. How could this scene serve the larger narrative? Perhaps that job loss redirected you toward a passion you'd ignored. That heartbreak taught you boundaries you'll carry forward. Even the smallest frustrations, the missed train, the cancelled plan, train you in the art of improvisation. The Stoics didn't just tolerate fate, they fell in love with its rough edges because those edges shape the story. Your life isn't a sterile highlight reel. It's a rich, textured film, and every moment, especially the unplanned ones, holds the potential to deepen its meaning. Roll camera. Think of your favorite film scene, the one where every frame feels charged with meaning. Now imagine watching it in slow motion, catching the subtle expressions, the play of light, the unspoken tension between characters. That's what mindfulness offers, a way to step out of life's autopilot and truly inhabit each moment. Marcus Aurelius called the present the only time that's truly yours, a fleeting yet infinite space where life actually happens, not in the reruns of yesterday or the trailers for tomorrow, but right here in the now. Yet how often do we treat our days like a movie on fast forward, rushing through scenes without absorbing them? Consider the modern ritual of endless scrolling, thumbs swiping, eyes glazing, minutes dissolving into a haze of content without connection. It's the opposite of that slowed-down film reel. You might consume hundreds of posts in an hour, but how many do you truly see? The Stoics warned against this 2,000 years ago, long before smartphones, when Seneca wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." His critique of wasted time wasn't about productivity, it was about presence. Every distracted moment is a scene you'll never get back. Here's the practice: pause mid-video, yes, right now, and take 3 deliberate breaths. Not to empty your mind, but to fill it with awareness. Notice the weight of your body where it meets the chair, the sounds humming faintly in the background, the quality of light around you. This isn't meditation, it's a cinematic reset. Just as a filmmaker reviews footage frame by frame to catch the nuances, you're training yourself to notice the texture of your own experience. The next time you catch yourself lost in a scroll, turn it into a trigger, slow the reel, feel the phone in your hand, the intention behind your swipe, the space between one breath and the next. Presence isn't about eliminating distraction, it's about remembering you have a choice, to fast forward through life or to inhabit it, one vivid frame at a time. Every great protagonist needs a supporting cast, those voices that shape their journey, challenge their assumptions, and reflect back the best versions of themselves. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't practice in isolation. They surrounded themselves with teachers, students, and letters that bridged distances and generations. Seneca's correspondence with his friend Lucilius wasn't just philosophical advice, it was a lifeline, a way to sharpen his thoughts through dialogue. We need to set our eyes on some good person, Musonius Rufus urged, and keep them there as if they were a beacon. That's the power of role models. They don't just inspire, they become mirrors, helping us see what we're capable of when our own vision falters. Fast forward to today, and the essence remains the same, though the medium has shifted. Instead of handwritten letters carried by couriers across Roman roads, we have podcasts that travel through earbuds during morning commutes, YouTube channels that feel like late-night conversations, or even the quiet wisdom of a coworker who handles stress with unshakable calm. The Stoic community wasn't confined to marble stowers. It thrived in the exchange of ideas. When you listen to a modern thinker dissecting Marcus Aurelius or watch a stranger's video on overcoming adversity, you're part of that same tradition, a lineage of shared learning stretching back centuries. Think of someone whose character leaves an imprint on you. Maybe it's a historical figure like Epictetus, who turned physical suffering into mental freedom. Maybe it's a grandparent who faced hardship without complaint, or a public figure whose resilience in the spotlight speaks volumes. What makes them stand out isn't perfection, it's the way they navigate imperfection. The Stoics didn't idolize flawless heroes. They studied real people grappling with real struggles because that's where wisdom lives. Here's an invitation. Pause and name your beacon. Not just who they are, but what specific qualities resonate with you. Is it their patience in conflict, their ability to find humor in failure, their relentless focus on what matters? Write it down or hold it in your mind. Then ask, how might you embody a fraction of that today? Role models aren't meant to be put on pedestals, they're guides, showing us the paths we might walk ourselves. Whether through ancient texts or a friend's quiet example, the Stoic community reminds us we're never truly alone in the work of becoming. In every epic tale, the hero faces moments that seem impossible to survive, a betrayal, a crushing defeat, a seemingly insurmountable obstacle. Yet they press forward, not because they're invincible, but because they've learned to bend without breaking. This is resilience. The Stoics plot armor against life's harshest blows. Consider Cato the Younger, standing in the ruins of his political dreams after Julius Caesar's victory. His cause was lost, his allies scattered, yet his defiance became legendary. Rather than surrender to despair, he met his end with unshaken principle, turning defeat into a lesson for generations. Plutarch would later write that Cato's true strength wasn't in winning battles, but in how he faced their loss, proof that resilience isn't about avoiding falls, but about the dignity with which we rise. Fast forward to today, where resilience wears different faces. That layoff email that lands like a gut punch, the manuscript rejected for the 12th time, the startup that collapsed despite sleepless nights, these are our modern battlefields. Seneca, who knew exile and chronic illness, offered timeless advice. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Notice he doesn't say they're pleasant or fair, only that they're transformative. A boxer doesn't develop knockout power by punching air. Muscles grow through resistance. The same applies to our inner fortitude. Think of a challenge that reshaped you. Maybe it was a failure that forced humility, a heartbreak that taught self-reliance, or a mistake that became your greatest teacher. Resilience isn't forged in the absence of pain, but in its presence. Modern psychology echoes this ancient wisdom. Post-traumatic growth research shows how adversity can spark unexpected strengths, deeper relationships, and renewed purpose. The key lies in perspective. A Stoic doesn't ask, why me, but what now? When a project flops or a relationship fractures, they see raw material for reinvention, not just wreckage. Here's the practice. Next time you face a setback, pause and dissect it like a Stoic filmmaker reviewing dailies. What went wrong? What was beyond your control? What can you salvage or repurpose? Cato's defiance, Seneca's endurance, these aren't historical relics. They're blueprints for turning life's plot twists into character development. Your story isn't defined by the blows you take, but by how you wield them to shape the narrative ahead. Every great director knows the power of the cutting room floor. The moments left on it shape the final film just as much as those kept in. Life, too, has its outtakes, the grudges we replay, the outdated self-narratives we cling to, the social comparisons that drain our energy. Marcus Aurelius called this mental clutter. the unnecessary baggage of opinion, urging us to cut what no longer serves the story. Picture scrolling through your phone, stumbling upon an old photo where someone else's highlight reel makes your daily grind feel inadequate. That pang of envy. That's footage begging to be deleted. The Stoics practiced a radical form of mental editing. Epictetus advised his students to treat disruptive thoughts like unwanted visitors at the door, acknowledge them, then politely decline entry. Modern psychology echoes this with cognitive behavioral techniques, showing how beliefs shape emotions. When you fixate on a coworker's promotion or a friend's curated vacation posts, you're not just observing their life, you're writing a script where you're the supporting character in someone else's story. Seneca warned, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The mind's cutting room is where we decide, is this thought a keeper or does it belong on the floor? Try this exercise today. Grab a notebook and title a page "Deleted Scenes." Identify one mental loop that's been playing too long, maybe, "I should be further along by now," or "They have it easier than I do." Write it down, then physically cross it out. This isn't about suppressing the thought. It's about recognizing you're the editor, not the footage. Marcus Aurelius kept a journal not to preserve every passing worry, but to sift through them like reels, keeping only what fortified his purpose. Your attention is the most limited resource you have. Every moment spent reshooting old grievances is a scene you could be living anew. The director's chair is yours, what stays on your mental screen. Think of a scene where a single shaft of light cuts through darkness, illuminating only what matters, the actor's expression, a pivotal object, the truth hidden in shadows. That's virtue in the Stoic sense, not a vague ideal, but a deliberate spotlight on what's real. The ancient Greeks called it arete excellence of character, a quality that shines through actions, not announcements. Contrast that with today's chase for viral fame, where validation comes in likes and follows, measured in pixels rather than principle. Epictetus, the philosopher who valued inner freedom over external approval, put it bluntly, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." His words cut through the noise of performative virtue, reminding us that true integrity often goes unseen by the crowd. Consider how social media rewards the appearance of goodness. The perfectly framed charity photo, the outrage tailored for shares, the curated persona designed for applause. It's easy to confuse visibility with virtue, to mistake being seen as good for actually being good. But the Stoics measured character by a different standard, the choices made when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius, ruling the Roman Empire at its height, wrote his deepest reflections in a private journal, never intended for publication. His philosophy wasn't a performance, it was a daily practice, like a cinematographer adjusting lights not for the audience, but for the clarity of the scene itself. Here's your challenge. Before the day ends, conduct a values audit. Pick one action, maybe a reply you hesitated to send, a task you have completed, or a conversation where you withheld honesty. Hold it up to your inner light. Did it align with who you aspire to be when the cameras are off? Virtue isn't about grand gestures. It's the sum of small, consistent choices, the way a film's mood is built frame by frame through careful lighting. Fame flickers out, algorithms change, but the light you cultivate within, that's an illumination no shadow can touch. Think of the most powerful scene in your favorite film. Chances are, it wasn't the explosion or the dramatic monologue, but the hushed moment just before. The pause where the character's eyes say everything words cannot. That's the power of silence, a tool the Stoics wielded with mastery. Seneca, advising his friend Lucilius from the heart of ancient Rome's chaos, wrote, "Be wary of the crowd." Solitude is how you escape the many. He wasn't advocating isolation but intentional stillness. the kind that lets you hear your own thoughts over the world's static. Picture him in his villa, carving out pockets of quiet amid an empire's roar, proving that silence isn't empty space, it's where clarity takes shape. Now fast forward to today, where our lives resemble a film reel jammed on fast forward. Notifications chime like a relentless score, social media scrolls like a never-ending credit sequence, and even idle moments get filled with podcasts or playlists. We've confused noise with nourishment, mistaking constant input for engagement. But here's the paradox: the quieter the scene, the more it resonates. A study room at midnight, a walk without earbuds, the pause before replying to a provocation. These are the modern equivalents of Seneca's solitude. The Stoics didn't just tolerate silence, they revered it as the canvas where wisdom gets painted. Try this experiment today for 5 minutes. Mute your world, not as punishment but as revelation. Sit with the hum of your breath, the weight of your hands in your lap, the way light slants across the floor. No agenda, no meditation app, just the raw footage of your mind. You'll notice something startling: thoughts you've been drowning out, ideas buried under the noise, even tensions you've been ignoring. Seneca called this conversing with yourself, the most vital dialogue you'll ever have. In those quiet frames, you're not missing out, you're tuning in. The next time your phone buzzes with someone else's urgency, remember, the most compelling scenes are often the ones where everything goes still. Imagine an actor stepping onto a stage, their lines memorized, every possible reaction from the audience rehearsed, not to avoid the performance, but to embrace its unpredictability with open eyes. That's Premeditatio Malorum, the Stoic practice of premeditation of evils, where you mentally walk through challenges before they arrive. Seneca described it as suffering in advance, not to dwell on fear, but to disarm it. Picture a filmmaker storyboarding every possible disaster: the lead actor falling ill, the location flooding, the equipment failing. By visualizing these setbacks, they're not inviting misfortune. They're building resilience, ensuring that when obstacles arise, they're met with creativity rather than panic. Now bring this into your own life. That difficult conversation you've been avoiding, the feedback for a coworker, the boundary-setting talk with a family member. Play it out in your mind like a scene you're directing. What's the worst that could happen? They might deflect or become defensive or even walk away. And then what? You'd still be standing, still breathing, still capable of responding with clarity. The Stoics weren't pessimists, they were pragmatists. By rehearsing adversity, they transformed the unknown into a map, making the actual journey less daunting. Consider how this applies to modern anxieties: the job interview, the medical test, the financial hurdle. Our instinct is to avoid thinking about them until they're unavoidable, which only amplifies their power. But Premeditatio Malorum flips the script. It's the difference between staring at a blank page paralyzed by writer's block and sketching an outline so rough it frees you to begin. Seneca wrote, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." He wasn't advocating obsession over worst-case scenarios, but a deliberate loosening of their grip. Here's how to practice it. Tonight, as you lie in bed, pick one challenge looming on your horizon. Close your eyes and visualize it unfolding, not as a passive victim, but as an active participant. Notice where your body tenses, where your mind races, and then breathe into those spaces. Ask yourself, what tools do I already have to navigate this? What's the smallest step I could take if this happened tomorrow? Like a filmmaker running through shots before the camera rolls, you're not predicting the future, you're preparing to meet it with intention. The scene ahead may not go as planned, but you'll no longer be afraid of the dark. Every film has a runtime. Some scenes make the final cut, others end up on the editing room floor. Life operates on the same principle. a truth Marcus Aurelius captured with his river metaphor. Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us. He wasn't being morbid, he was highlighting the urgency of presence. Think of those moments when you've binged a series only to realize, as the credits roll, how quickly the hours vanished. Now zoom out. How much of your own life slips by in autopilot, deferred for a hypothetical later that may never come? The Stoics called this Memento Mori, not a fixation on death, but a lens to sharpen life's focus. Modern culture twists this awareness into FOMO, the fear of missing out, driving us to cram our days with endless scrolling, overcommitment, and performative busyness. We chase more hours at the office, more notifications answered, more tabs open, as if productivity could stretch time itself, but the river keeps moving. Seneca saw this 2,000 years ago when he wrote, "You are living as if destined to live forever. Your own frailty never occurs to you." The same frailty echoes today in our burnout epidemics and packed calendars, proof that mistaking motion for meaning isn't a new problem, just a faster spinning version. Here's the reframe. Imagine your life as a limited series with one season left, not to trigger panic but to distill purpose. What subplots would you cut? Which relationships would get more screen time? The colleague's petty comment, the obsession with algorithmic approval, the grudges reheated like stale leftovers, do they deserve a place in your final season? The Stoics practiced this editing daily. Epictetus told his students, "Keep death and exile before your eyes every day, and you will never have a base thought nor desire beyond measure." He wasn't advocating gloom, he was teaching prioritization by reminding us nothing is guaranteed. Try this exercise today. Pull out your calendar or to-do list. For every item, ask, if this were my last month, would it earn a spot in the story? Some obligations will remain, work, chores, responsibilities, but their weight shifts when you see them as chosen scenes rather than default settings. That extra hour at the office could become 30 minutes of laughter with your child. The mindless scroll could be replaced by a walk where you actually notice the light through the trees. Time doesn't expand, but your attention does. The river keeps flowing, but you get to choose whether you're drowning in its current or swimming with intention toward what matters. Picture a director stepping onto set prepared to shoot a romantic comedy, only to learn the studio wants a thriller instead. The lighting, the pacing, even the actor's delivery must shift on a dime. That's adaptability, the art of rewriting the script mid-scene, and it's a skill the Stoics mastered long before Hollywood existed. Take Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, whose life took a radical turn when a shipwreck left him stranded in Athens with nothing but a borrowed book of philosophy. Instead of clinging to his old identity as a merchant, he let the current carry him toward an entirely new calling. His wreckage became the foundation of a school of thought that would outlast empires. The lesson: sometimes the most profound growth begins when we release our death grip on Plan A. Epictetus, the philosopher who compared resilience to a willow tree bending in the storm, put it plainly: no great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. His words aren't just about patience, they're about recognizing that rigidity breaks while flexibility transforms. Think of the willow, its branches yielding to the wind's whims without snapping. Now apply that to modern careers. The marketer who pivots to UX design when algorithms change. The teacher who transitions to educational tech when classrooms go virtual. The factory worker who retrains for renewable energy as industries evolve. These aren't compromises, they're creative redirections, proof that adaptability isn't about losing yourself. It's about uncovering versions of yourself you couldn't have planned. Consider how genre blending works in film. A movie like the Grand Budapest Hotel shifts effortlessly between comedy and tragedy, its tonal agility making the story richer. Life demands the same fluidity. The colleague who approaches a layoff not just as an ending, but as a chance to freelance. The parent who treats a child's rebellion not as a failure, but as a subplot revealing independence. Even small pivots matter: the cancelled plan that becomes an evening of reading, the missed flight that sparks an unexpected conversation. Stoicism teaches us to direct these scenes without rigid expectations, to find the wisdom in what Zeno called the obstacle as the way. The shipwreck isn't the finale, it's the inciting incident. The wind doesn't destroy the willow, it teaches it how to dance. Here's the practical takeaway. Identify one area where you've been resisting change, a career path that no longer fits, a relationship dynamic that's shifted, even a daily routine that feels stale. Now imagine you're a filmmaker handed a last-minute genre switch. How could you reinterpret this storyline? What hidden themes might emerge? The Stoics didn't just endure change, they collaborated with it, turning life's rewrites into opportunities for deeper storytelling. Your script isn't set in stone. It's alive, elastic, and far more compelling when you allow it to surprise you. Think of the most dazzling blockbuster you've ever seen. Explosions lighting up the sky, CGI creatures so realistic they send chills down your spine, slow motion shots that make every movement feel epic. Now imagine peeling back those layers of digital magic. Suddenly, the dragon is just polygons, the hero's flawless skin is airbrushed pixels, and the collapsing cityscape is a green screen. That's the illusion of ego, a carefully crafted special effect that dazzles in the moment but dissolves under scrutiny. The Stoics saw this 2,000 years before Instagram filters, warning that vanity is the ultimate smoke and mirrors. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the known world, would whisper to himself, "You are just a little soul carrying around a corpse, not as self-loathing but as a reality check." Every time he felt the seductive pull of flattery or the weight of his own importance, he'd remember, even emperors are temporary dust under the same stars as slaves. Now contrast that with today's influencer economy, where personal branding often overshadows personal growth. The highlight reels, the follower counts, the curated personas, it's all cinematic artifice. Seneca saw this coming when he wrote, "How much happier is the man who owes nothing to anybody except those he can easily refuse." He wasn't criticizing success, he was exposing the trap of chasing applause. Scroll through any platform, and you'll find creators exhausted by the grind of maintaining their digital avatars, their real lives shrinking as their online personas balloon. The Stoic alternative: treat admiration like studio special effects, impressive to watch, but meaningless as a foundation. Here's the revealing question: what illusion have you been mistaking for substance? Maybe it's the job title you cling to for validation, the car you bought to project success, or even the intellectual persona you polish to impress strangers. Marcus's dust reminder isn't meant to diminish you, it's designed to free you. When you stop pouring energy into maintaining the CGI version of yourself, you reclaim that energy for what matters: character over clout, depth over dazzle. Try this exercise. Pick one special effect in your life, something that looks impressive but feels hollow under the surface. It could be the designer clothes you can't afford, the overbooked schedule that screams importance but leaves you drained, or the habit of name dropping to elevate your status. Now imagine hitting the delete key on that effect. What remains? That's where your real power lies, not in the illusions you create, but in the authenticity you uncover. The greatest films aren't remembered for their technical tricks, but for their humanity. Your life is no different. The director's chair is yours. What illusion will you choose to render obsolete? Every director reviews the day's footage before calling wrap. The raw, unedited takes where performances are refined, mistakes are noted, and breakthroughs emerge. This is the essence of Stoic journaling, not just recording events, but examining them with the critical yet compassionate eye of an editor shaping a masterpiece. Marcus Aurelius's meditations were never meant for publication. They were his private rushes, the unpolished reels where he dissected his own character like a filmmaker studying dailies. When you wake up in the morning, he wrote, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Not as cynicism, but as rehearsal anticipating challenges so he could meet them with intention rather than reaction. His journal was a cutting room where he trimmed away ego, reshaped impulses, and spliced together a clearer vision of his ideals. Now imagine applying that practice today. Instead of scrolling through social media before bed, what if you spent 10 minutes with a notebook or even a dedicated Stoic journaling app, digital or analog, reviewing your day's scenes? Seneca, who treated self-review as sacred, advised, the spirit ought to be brought up for examination daily. He wasn't suggesting you berate yourself for missteps, but that you become both actor and director in your own life's film. Did that rushed email reflect your values? Did you let a stranger's rudeness hijack your mood? Were there moments where you surprised yourself with patience or insight? These aren't judgments, they're creative notes for tomorrow's shoot. Consider the modern tools at your disposal. A notes app could become your meditations too. Zero, with tags for recurring themes like control or resentment. Or a physical notebook, its pages free from algorithmic interruptions, where you can sketch thoughts like storyboards. The format matters less than the habit, consistent, honest, and focused on progression rather than perfection. Filmmakers don't expect the first take to be flawless. They refine through iteration. When Marcus wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. B1, he was urging action over theory. Your journal is where that transformation gets documented, frame by frame. Try this tonight. Replay one interaction from your day as if reviewing footage. Notice where you might have paused instead of reacting, where a different angle could have revealed more empathy, or where you nailed the delivery. Then, like Seneca preparing for tomorrow's scenes, ask, what's one line I want to carry into the next take? The blank page isn't just a record, it's your studio, your rehearsal space, the quiet set where you direct the most important performance of all. Picture the most breathtaking stunt from your favorite action film. The hero leaping between skyscrapers, the motorcycle flipping midair, the explosion barely escaped. Now pull back the curtain. That wasn't the lead actor, but their stunt double, someone who trained for months to make the impossible look effortless. That's the Stoic approach to hardship in a nutshell, not avoiding discomfort, but treating it as the rehearsal for life's most demanding scenes. Musonius Rufus, the Stoic teacher who saw philosophy as a gym for the soul, famously insisted his students take cold showers not to punish them, but to condition them. How could someone accustomed to luxury become brave? He asked, pointing out that comfort weakens resilience like a muscle left unused. His lesson wasn't about suffering for its own sake. It was about choosing small challenges today so you're ready for life's big falls tomorrow. Fast forward to today, where we've turned convenience into an art form, delivery apps for meals we could cook, temperature-controlled homes that never challenge us, algorithms shielding us from ideas that might unsettle. Yet in the same era, people willingly sign up for marathons, ice baths, and digital detoxes, proving something in us still craves the stretch. Modern fitness culture echoes Musonius when it praises progressive overload, the science of adding weight gradually to build strength. Intermittent fasting trends mirror his cold showers, teaching that temporary deprivation can sharpen focus and discipline. Even Silicon Valley's obsession with hard things reflects this ancient truth. Growth happens at the edge of discomfort, not in the cozy center. So here's the challenge. What's one comfort you could replace with a stunt doubles training today? Maybe it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator to remind your body it's built for movement. Maybe it's having that awkward conversation you've avoided, knowing clarity is worth the temporary tension. Or perhaps it's as simple as leaving your phone outside the bedroom, trading midnight scrolling for the discomfort of sitting with your own thoughts. The goal isn't to punish yourself, it's to audition your resilience in small scenes so you're ready when life demands a big performance. After all, no stunt actor waits for the real fire to learn how to roll. They train in controlled burns until the heat feels like part of the act. Your challenges are no different. Every discomfort you willingly embrace is another take mastered, another stunt added to your repertoire. The director's calling action. What scene will you rehearse? Every blockbuster film begins with an opening sequence. The slow reveal of the title against a sunrise, the quiet moment before the story erupts into motion. Your mornings work the same way. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, understood this intimately. His dawn ritual wasn't about grand gestures, it was a deliberate whisper to himself. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. He didn't reach for a scroll of urgent memos or bark orders at servants. He began with stillness, a mental calibration as precise as a filmmaker adjusting the lens before the first shot. Now contrast that with the modern symphony of snooze buttons and bleary-eyed scrolling, the way we often let the world's noise dictate our opening scene before we've even rubbed the sleep from our eyes. Studies show that 80% of smartphone users check their devices within 15 minutes of waking, effectively letting algorithms direct their first thoughts. It's like allowing a chaotic trailer to play before your feature film, scrambling the tone you hope to set. The Stoic alternative sees those fragile morning moments like a director claiming creative control. Here's the practical pivot. Your daily opening scene doesn't need a Hollywood budget or a 2-hour meditation. Start with a micro-habit as simple as making your bed. A ritual Navy Admiral William McRaven famously linked to changing the world. Why? Because it's a tangible, immediate win. The act itself takes 20 seconds, but the symbolism lingers. You've begun the day by imposing order on chaos, however small. Marcus didn't conquer Rome before breakfast, he conquered his mindset. Your bed, smoothed and squared, is your first frame. Proof that you're directing the day, not just reacting to it. Think of it as cinematography for your life. That made bed becomes a visual anchor, a reminder that small disciplines compound like scenes in a montage. Miss the morning workout? No problem. You've already set the precedent of intentionality. Running late, the ritual still holds. Smoothing the sheets becomes a tactile meditation, a refusal to let hurry erase presence. Filmmakers know the power of a strong opening shot the way a single image can establish theme, mood, and stakes. Your bed is that shot. The rest of the day is just the sequence that follows. Try this tomorrow. Before your fingers find your phone, let them find the edge of your blanket. Pull it taut, tuck the corners, and step back. There, your opening credits have rolled. The story is yours to write. There's a scene in every great film where the protagonist faces their own mortality. Maybe it's a glimpse in a mirror showing their aged reflection, or a quiet moment staring at a gravestone. That's Memento Mori, the Stoic practice of keeping death close as a compass rather than a threat. Picture the ancient philosopher's skull not as a morbid prop, but as a director's slate. That sharp clap before the next take, reminding everyone, this scene won't last forever, so make it count. Seneca, who wrote letters to his friend Lucilius from the shadow of Nero's unpredictable reign, put it bluntly, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." His words rip through the illusion of endless sequels we construct for ourselves, the someday dreams, the grudges we nurse like unfinished scripts, the hours lost to mindless scrolling as if time were a buffet we could return to indefinitely. Modern culture is catching up to this ancient wisdom in unexpected ways. The death positivity movement, with its candid podcasts about end-of-life planning and living funerals, echoes the Stoic insistence on staring mortality in the face, not to paralyze but to prioritize. Instagram accounts like at Orderoff, Good Death, and bestsellers like Smoke, Gets in Your Eyes reframe death as the ultimate editor, cutting away life's filler scenes to reveal what truly deserves screen time. When Seneca wrote, "Life's length, not its duration, matters," he was challenging us to measure in depth, not digits. A film isn't great because it's long. It's great because every frame serves the story. Think of the last time you faced a close call, a near-miss accident, a health scare, a loss that shook you awake. Remember how sharply colors seemed to brighten, how trivial worries evaporated, how fiercely you wanted to live. That's Memento Mori in action, not as a distant philosophy, but as a visceral wake-up call. The Stoics practiced this daily, not with dread, but with gratitude. Marcus Aurelius would write, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think, treating each morning as if it were both a gift and a deadline." Here's the twist. This isn't about bucket lists or dramatic gestures. It's about the quiet edits you make when you remember the real isn't endless. That argument you refuse to prolong because life's too short for recycled resentment. The project you finally start instead of waiting for perfect conditions. Even the way you pause to really taste your coffee instead of gulping it between emails. Death positivity and Stoicism meet at this crossroads. Both whisper the same liberating truth. Mortality isn't the enemy of meaning. It's the muse. The skull on the philosopher's desk wasn't meant to scare. It was meant to direct. Your final scene is coming. What will you shoot today? Every great film leaves you with that final moment, the post-credit scene that lingers long after the lights come up. Maybe it's a hero walking into the sunset, a villain's smirk hinting at their return, or a quiet gesture that redefines everything you've just watched. Now imagine your life as that film. What's the scene you'd leave echoing in the minds of those who knew you? Not the curated highlight reel of social media, not the fleeting applause of viral fame, but the indelible mark of how you showed up when no one was watching. The Stoics had a term for this, kleos, the Greek concept of glory earned through virtue, not visibility. Epictetus, the philosopher who cared more about integrity than immortality, put it plainly, if you wish to be remembered, live in a way worthy of memory. Not by chasing trends, but by tending to your character. Think of viral fame today, a TikTok dance copied by millions, a tweet that ignites outrage for a news cycle, the 15 minutes of attention that evaporates as quickly as it came. Contrast that with the quiet legacy of someone like Marcus Aurelius, whose private journal became a beacon for generations, not because he sought recognition, but because he sought wisdom. His words weren't crafted for likes, they were wrestled onto the page in the dead of night, a ruler's raw dialogue with himself. That's the difference between trending and transcending. One is fireworks bright, loud, and gone. The other is starlight steady, enduring, and guiding long after the source has vanished. So here's your challenge. Picture the epitaph on your gravestone, the line that will outlast you. Not the polished version for public consumption, but the truth of how you lived. Will it read, "They had 1 million followers," or "They lifted others when no one was watching"? The Stoics weren't morbid in contemplating death, they were clarifying. Like a filmmaker choosing the final shot, they knew the last frame reveals the story's heart. Your legacy isn't built in the grand gestures the cameras catch, but in the quiet scenes between the patience you showed a struggling coworker, the honesty you upheld when lying was easier, the small kindnesses that never made the highlight reel. Epictetus offered a litmus test. If someone were to describe your life honestly, would you blush? It's not about perfection but direction. The parent who models resilience more than riches, the friend whose loyalty outlasts convenience, the creator who values craft over clicks, these are the lives that linger. Your after-credits scene isn't written by the world's applause. It's etched by the choices you make when the theater empties and the real work begins. So grab the mental chisel. What words will you carve? Imagine standing on stage delivering a powerful monologue when suddenly a voice from the balcony shouts something crude, an ancient version of a YouTube comment section troll. The Stoics faced this exact scenario 2,000 years before the internet existed. Philosophers like Epictetus would lecture in busy marketplaces where hecklers tried to disrupt their teachings, testing their composure in real time. His response: if someone tells you that so and so speaks ill of you, don't defend yourself against the charges, but reply, yes, and he doesn't know the half of it. He'd say worse if he knew more. That wasn't self-deprecation, it was a masterclass in refusing to take the bait. Fast forward to today, where critics don't just shout from balconies, they flood inboxes, hijack comment sections, and weaponize threads. Cancel culture operates like those ancient hecklers turned digital, where outrage spreads faster than reason. But here's the Stoic filter. Not every critic deserves your attention, only the ones who have earned the right to review your reel. Think of it like film criticism. A random viewer might dismiss a movie after 10 minutes, but a trusted critic watches the entire thing, understands the craft, and offers constructive insight. The former is noise, the latter is feedback you can actually use. Consider how Seneca handled slander in imperial Rome, where whispers could literally cost lives. He wrote, "The noise and clatter of the crowd can neither add to nor take away from your own inner peace. Substitute crowd for algorithm," and his advice holds. When a troll mocks your work or a mob piles on over a misstep, ask, does this person know the full script of my life? Have they earned a director's chair in my creative process? If not, their critique belongs in the deleted scenes folder. Here's the litmus test. Picture your most vocal critic. Now imagine them sitting across from you at a coffee shop, speaking face to face. Would their words hold weight, or would they crumble under the light of real connection? The Stoics didn't ignore criticism, they refined their work through trusted voices, while letting the rest roll off like water on marble. Your energy is finite, save it for the critiques that help you grow, not the hecklers who just want to watch you stumble. The balcony's always full, the director's chair that's reserved. Think of your favorite film franchise hitting the reset button, Batman evolving from Adam West's campy charm to Christian Bale's gritty intensity, or James Bond shifting from Pierce Brosnan's suave gadgets to Daniel Craig's raw vulnerability. Each reboot isn't a betrayal of the original, it's an acknowledgement that stories and people need room to evolve. Seneca saw this 2,000 years ago when he wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Not as a gentle suggestion, but as a mandate for perpetual reinvention. Your life isn't a static script, it's a franchise with seasons, each demanding new versions of its lead character. Consider the parent who trades late-night networking events for bedtime stories, their identity expanding beyond job titles into lullabies and scraped knees. Or the executive who walks away from a corner office to start a pottery studio, exchanging spreadsheets for kiln temperatures. These aren't failures or midlife crises, they're narrative pivots, the kind Seneca celebrated when he said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." The Stoics didn't fear change, they framed it as creative redirection. A lawyer becoming a teacher isn't abandoning their past, they're integrating it into a richer arc, like a superhero discovering their powers work better as a mentor than a lone vigilante. So here's the challenge. What role in your life is begging for a recast? Maybe it's the people pleaser who needs to audition for the part of someone with boundaries. The perfectionist who could thrive as the lead in Good Enough. Even small reboots count, the night owl shifting to morning pages, the cynic trying on optimism like a new costume. Franchises don't erase their history, they build on it. Your past chapters aren't mistakes, they're backstory waiting to inform your next act. The director's chair is open. What version of you steps onto the set today? There's a scene in every nature documentary that leaves you breathless, the slow unfurling of a fern, the patient erosion of a canyon by water, the way a forest recovers after a wildfire. These aren't just pretty shots, they're Stoic philosophy in motion. Marcus Aurelius gazed at the same stars we do today and saw not just celestial bodies, but a masterclass in resilience. "Look at the stars," he wrote, "as if you were running beside them." That's the cosmic perspective, the realization that your struggles, your deadlines, your heartbreaks are both insignificant and sacred in the grand sweep of the universe. Nature doesn't rush, yet everything gets done. The oak doesn't fret over acorns it can't control. The river doesn't rage when rocks divert its path. It finds another way. Now cut to modern life, the fluorescent buzz of office lights, the dopamine hits of notifications, the way we measure our worth in productivity sprints. We've built a world that runs counter to nature's rhythms, and our bodies are rebelling. Burnout isn't just exhaustion, it's a kind of spiritual drought. But here's where the Stoics whisper an antidote through the ages. Forest bathing, the Japanese practice of immersing yourself in woods, isn't just a trendy wellness hack. It's Clean's ancient advice to flow like a river made literal. When you walk among trees, something primal recalibrates. Your heartbeat sinks to older rhythms, your breath deepens, and the problems that felt like emergencies shrink to their true size. A study from the University of Michigan found that just 20 minutes in nature lowers cortisol levels more effectively than any urban stress relief tactic. The trees, it seems, have been Stoics all along. Think of how water behaves, the way it molds itself to any container without losing its essence, the persistence of a single drop wearing down stone over centuries. Clean's, the Stoic who compared wisdom to flowing water, wasn't preaching passivity, he was teaching adaptability. The river doesn't control the terrain, only its response to it. When blocked, it swerves. When evaporated, it becomes rain. When frozen, it waits. Modern life feels like a series of dams, traffic jams, inbox bottlenecks, bureaucratic mazes. But what if, like water, you stopped seeing obstacles as dead ends and started treating them as invitations to innovate? The entrepreneur whose startup fails and pivots to consulting isn't giving up, they're flowing downstream. The parent who trades corporate ladder climbing for flexible freelancing isn't settling, they're finding a new course. Here's the challenge. Next time you're stuck in traffic, in a creative rut, in a conflict, ask yourself, how would water handle this? Would it force its way through or find a detour? Would it rage against the rock or patiently dissolve it? The answers are written in every glacier, every delta, every morning dew. Nature's wisdom isn't locked in dusty scrolls. It's unfolding outside your window right now. The cosmos, Marcus marveled at, still spins. The river's Clean's revered still flow. And you're not separate from this ancient choreography. You're a living part of it. The trees aren't just scenery, they're co-stars in your story, rustling with lines written millennia before your first breath. All you have to do is listen. Think of the most moving film you've ever watched, not because of the dialogue or the action, but because of the music swelling beneath the scenes, lifting the story to something deeper than words alone could convey. Emotions work the same way in our lives, always present, shaping the tone of our days, but never meant to drown out the entire picture. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who wrote letters of guidance from the chaos of Nero's Rome, described the ideal state as a smooth lake, not devoid of ripples, but undisturbed by storms that distort reflection. He wasn't advocating numbness, he was teaching discernment, the art of letting emotions play without letting them direct the whole show. Take road rage, that fiery soundtrack so many of us know by heart. The car cuts you off, and suddenly your pulse is the percussion section, your grip on the wheel the tense strings. But here's the Stoic remix. What if, instead of letting that track blast at full volume, you turned down the dial? Not by suppressing the frustration, but by recognizing it as just one song in a much larger playlist. The emotion isn't the problem. It's the unchecked amplification that turns a minor chord into a screeching solo. Modern neuroscience backs this ancient wisdom. Studies show labeling an emotion, literally naming the track, reduces its intensity, like shifting from surround sound to a single earbud. Now flip the script to joy. That rush when a project finally clicks, the warmth of a friend's laughter, the quiet satisfaction of a morning well spent. These are the uplifting melodies that deserve more airtime. Yet how often do we let them fade into the background, overshadowed by the dissonance of worry or the static of distraction? The Stoic practice isn't about muting these tracks, it's about curating them with intention. Marcus Aurelius would begin his days by asking, "What is the nature of my soul today?" A prompt that's essentially asking, what's today's emotional soundtrack? Here's your assignment. Before the day ends, pause and name 3 tracks that played in your mind. Maybe it was anxiety in E minor during that work meeting, or gratitude unplugged when you watched the sunset. No judgment, just observation, like a director reviewing a film's temp score. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns, which tracks loop too often, which ones lift the narrative, and where you might need a new arrangement. Emotions aren't the enemy, they're the score, and you're both the composer and the audience, learning to appreciate the music without being swept away by it. The volume knob is in your hands. Every great film comes with a director's commentary, those raw, behind-the-scenes moments where creators dissect their choices, confess their missteps, and reveal the hidden layers of their craft. Stoicism offers its own version of this practice, a nightly ritual Epictetus called epistrophe, or the return to oneself. Imagine ending your day not with mindless scrolling or the blue glow of a screen, but with the quiet precision of an editor reviewing the day's footage. Dig within, Marcus Aurelius urged in his Meditations. Within is the wellspring of good. It will always bubble up if you always dig. This wasn't just poetic advice, it was a structured practice, a way to sift through the day's scenes and separate the gold from the gravel. Modern therapy techniques echo this ancient wisdom. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for instance, teaches patients to examine their thoughts like film reels, identifying distortions and recutting the narrative. Apps like Reflectly or Day One digitize the Stoic journal, turning Epictetus' nightly review into a tap and type ritual, but the core remains unchanged. Progress demands reflection. Picture a director watching dailies. Why did that scene fall flat? Where did the lighting miss the mark? How could the actor's delivery deepen the emotion? Now apply those questions to your own day. Did that rushed email convey the right tone? Did you listen to understand or just to reply? Even the small moments matter. the sigh of impatience in line at the cafe, the reflexive check of your phone during a conversation. Here's the twist: Stoic reflection isn't about self-flagellation. It's about editing. Marcus didn't berate himself in his journal, he course-corrected. You have power over your mind, he'd remind himself, not outside events. Modern psychology calls this self-distancing, the ability to review your actions as if you were a neutral observer. Try it tonight. Replay one interaction from your day like a scene you're analyzing for a film festival. What worked? What missed the mark? What's the note you'd give yourself for tomorrow's take? The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. Every director knows the best films aren't shot in one flawless take. They're crafted in the editing room where raw footage becomes art. Your life is no different. The commentary track is yours to record. What will you highlight before the credits roll? Every filmmaker knows the most painful part of post-production isn't shooting new scenes, it's cutting the ones you love for the sake of the story. That perfect shot, the line reading that gives you chills, the subplot that took weeks to film, all left on the cutting room floor because they no longer serve the narrative. Seneca understood this brutal artistry better than most. When his beloved son died, the philosopher who'd written volumes on resilience faced the ultimate test of his own teachings. His letters reveal no platitudes about moving on, but something far more profound. A father's raw acknowledgement that grief, like a film reel, can't be rewound. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. He wrote not to dismiss pain, but to frame it. Some scenes must end so others can begin. Now picture your own life's editing suite. That relationship that couldn't be salvaged, the career path that no longer fits, the version of yourself you've outgrown. These are your deleted scenes. Modern psychology calls this divestment, the conscious release of what no longer serves us. A study from the University of Kansas found that people who ritualize letting go, burning old letters, donating symbolic items experience tangible emotional relief, as if the act of physical release cues the mind to follow. The Stoics would nod in recognition. When Seneca advised Lucilius to throw overboard what's weighing you down, he wasn't just speaking metaphorically. Ancient ship captains knew a vessel could sink from clinging to cargo in a storm. Consider the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold lacquer. The cracks aren't hidden, they're illuminated. There's a parallel in how filmmakers use jump cuts, those intentional breaks in continuity that draw attention to the edit itself. Your healing doesn't require pretending the break never happened. Like a skilled editor, you can acknowledge the rupture while choosing where the story goes next. A breakup becomes the jump cut that redirects your character arc. A lost job is the montage sequence where you retrain for something new. Even grief, as Seneca learned, can be a transition shot, the slow fade that makes the next scene resonate deeper. Here's your editing challenge. Pull up a mental clip of something you've been replaying, the argument you can't rewrite, the opportunity that slipped away, the version of someone you keep trying to resurrect. Now imagine hovering your cursor over it, not to relive it, but to ask, does this scene still serve my story? Some cuts hurt more than others. The outtakes of parenthood as children grow. The footage of friendships that faded without ceremony. The dreams that didn't survive contact with reality. But every filmmaker knows this truth. No masterpiece was ever made by clinging to footage that belongs on the floor. Seneca's wisdom wasn't in avoiding loss, it was in recognizing that even the most painful cuts create space for what's yet to be filmed. Your director's chair awaits. Which scene will you choose to let go? Think of your favorite film series, how each installment builds on the last, deepening characters, raising stakes, revealing new layers of the story. Stoicism isn't a one-time viewing experience. It's an endless sequel, each day a new episode in the series of your life. Marcus Aurelius, who penned his private journals while ruling an empire, never claimed to have completed his philosophy. Instead, he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," a reminder that growth isn't a destination, but a daily act of rewatching, reworking, and refining. Now contrast that with today's quick-fix culture, the 30-day challenges promising radical transformation, the apps guaranteeing enlightenment in 10 minutes a day, the self-help gurus peddling happiness like it's a limited-time offer. The Stoics would have scoffed at these shortcuts, not because change is impossible, but because true mastery unfolds like an epic saga, not a viral reel. Imagine if your favorite film franchise rushed its character arcs or resolved its conflicts in a single montage. The depth would vanish. The same applies to your inner world. That fleeting burst of motivation after a motivational video, that's the opening credits. The real story happens in the quiet, unglamorous scenes, the morning you choose patience over irritation, the moment you respond to criticism with curiosity instead of defensiveness, the evening you reflect honestly instead of numbing out. Here's your invitation. Don't just watch Stoicism, subscribe to it. Treat each sunrise like the premiere of a new episode, each challenge like a plot twist designed to reveal your character's next evolution. The Stoics didn't have streaming services, but they understood the power of serialized growth. Seneca returned to his letters like a showrunner refining a script, asking, "How can this be clearer?" Truer, Epictetus treated his classroom like a writer's room, urging students to rewrite their reactions to adversity. Even Marcus, with the weight of Rome on his shoulders, approached his journal like a daily debrief. What worked in today's scene? What needs a reshoot? Your life sequel won't trend on social media. There's no algorithm to reward the quiet courage of showing up for your values when no one's watching. But here's the twist. The most compelling stories aren't the ones that go viral. They're the ones that linger, that resonate long after the screen fades to black. So keep tuning in. Tomorrow's episode awaits, and the best part, you're not just the audience. You're the star, the director, and the critic, all at once. The only question left is, what will you film next? Think back to the most powerful moments from our journey together, the scenes that linger like the final frames of an unforgettable film. Remember the Stoic lens, that quiet revolution of focus where we learn to distinguish between what's ours to shape and what's beyond our grasp. Recall the broken vase, that ancient metaphor for life's inevitable fractures, and how Epictetus taught us to hold only what we can mend: our responses, our judgments, our inner script. Then there's resilience, that plot armor forged in small, daily rehearsals, cold showers, awkward conversations, the willingness to reroute when life cancels the original shoot. And presence, the practice of slowing the reel, of noticing the light and shadows of each moment before it flickers into memory. These aren't just philosophical concepts, they're your director's toolkit. Epictetus once said, "Remember, you are the actor in a play of whatever sort the playwright chooses. If short, then short. If long, then long." But here's the twist he didn't mention. While you didn't write the opening scenes or choose the supporting cast, you do get to interpret your role. Every day, you're handed a fresh script, a traffic jam, a missed opportunity, a moment of unexpected joy, and the power lies in how you perform it. Will you deliver your lines with resentment or curiosity? Will you treat the obstacles as plot holes or as turning points? As the credits roll on this chapter, consider this your call to action. Direct your next act with the same intention a filmmaker brings to their masterpiece. Frame each challenge as a chance to refine your craft. When the take goes off script, ask not, "Why is this happening?" but "What can this reveal?" And don't go solo. Every great film has a crew. Tag your co-stars in the comments, the friend who mirrors your best self, the mentor who helps you nail the monologue, even the so-called antagonists who have sharpened your performance under pressure. The stage is set, the cameras are rolling, your most compelling scenes are still unwritten, so what's your next line?